This is a tale of three cities: Washington, D.C., New York City, and Pattaya, Thailand. Now, what these three cities have in common are there are three cities I lived in my life, so I want to share some observations about these places. And they're very different places, obviously, but I just want to share some of my thoughts and some of my experiences about these places. When I was 18, I got out of high school. I got rejected from every college that I applied to. So what happened was I then applied to an internship in Washington, D.C. It was with a think tank, actually. And to my surprise, they accepted me. And so before I knew it, this was like in August. I had just been out of high school for 2 months. So I had no money. I had I think $400 to my name. I got that money by working at a dishwasher at a catering place for 1 month. And that was what I was able to save. That was just enough to get me to Washington, D.C. And so I took the bus to Washington. I found, actually I had about 500, I think. I found a boarding house, and basically it's a boarding house is like a place where a landlord has like a townhouse. Usually it's like in a ghetto or in a rough neighborhood, which this place was. And they rent out each room to individuals. So he splits up the house into for 6 or 7 people, usually single guys like me at the time. And they rent out each room for $300-400 a month, which was what it cost at that time. I think it was about $350. And you share your kitchen, you share the bathroom. I just found that looking through the classifieds of the newspaper in Washington. And I was supposed to be there at a certain time and a certain day, and I had to get everything. They told me to come in a suit. So I went to the thrift shop. I bought this $10 beige used suit. It was like this. I used that for I think I eventually got 2 of them, but I used those 2 suits for the next 8 months. And this place is this is a very nice place. I mean, they had people from they would hold conferences and delegations. They would host these delegates from all over the world, and these are high level people, bureaucrats, politicians, business people. So, and here I am in this $10 suit, which was pretty funny. I thought it was pretty cool, but nobody judged me for it. But I was just one of these errand boys, the interns. But so that was all I had. A little bit of money. I got enough to start it, and what they gave you a $700 a month a $700 a month stipend for the internship. So I had I had to pay my rent $350, and I had to I walked like a mile and a half to work every day. All I had was $700 a month. There's no taxes taken out of it because it was a stipend, but I had $700 a month, and basically at night I just eat spaghetti every day. You had to actually go in the basement of this place and cook the spaghetti. There were like roaches. I mean, the place was pretty bottom of the line. But man, I had a great time. There were 10 other interns, and we all kind of became friends, and we'd hang out. I just had I had no money to my name and just living by a shoestring. But I had a great time in the working in that place and all these new experiences, and really one of the best times of my life. And I learned something too, that you don't really need a lot of money. You don't have to have all these great things to enjoy life. A lot of the people who worked at that place had the real jobs, like the people that worked at that think tank. They made $100,000 a year, and they would just they go there, work, they show up in their big SUV, they'd pull in the garage, the basement, and they go back out to their house in the suburbs every day. To me, on the surface, they seem to be living very boring lives. I was having all this fun and adventure, So anyways, Washington was that sort of city too, where these people just sort of drove in, on their SUVs, and they did their work in the offices, these bureaucrats and lawyers, and and they did that every day, and they just went back. There wasn't a whole lot of life to Washington. I mean, I explored all over the city. That's what I like to do. Even back then, I like to walk around, and I even had a little digital camera. I just take photos and stuff, and that's what I like to do, explore. And but it wasn't a very lively city. I mean, at that time in my life, I had already traveled some. I had spent some time in Philadelphia. I thought was a really cool city. My uncle was living there. So in the weekends, if I could save some money, like once or two times a month, I would take a bus to either Philadelphia or New York City. But usually I started going to New York a lot because that city was pretty fascinating to me. I was really fascinated by cities, and I just love walking the streets and exploring cities. and there wasn't much for me to explore in Washington anymore. So I started going to New York, and like I said, I didn't really have any money. I was making $700 a month, and I was lucky if I could save $100, $150 a month, and out of that I might be able to take like 2 trips a month to New York. So the Greyhound would cost me $30 round trip. You know, it was like a 3.5 hour Greyhound, and so it was like $30 or $40. I had maybe like $35 left over for like, I would stay there for like 2 days, one night and 2 days. I'd go there in the morning, I'd stay there all day, Saturday, all night, Saturday night. I'd stay there Sunday, and I'd come back Sunday, and I'd be ready for work the next day, Monday. That whole time I had maybe $30, $40. This was back in 1999, 2000, right before 9/11 hit. I was actually in New York a day before 9/11, but getting back to the story, that's pretty shocking. I was back home in Ohio at the time, and I was like, and the news the next morning, I was like, what? I actually even took a picture from the Empire State Building at Wall Street. I took a picture of the trade towers the day before that happened. But so yeah, I was really getting into traveling to New York. That was something I did, you know, on the weekends a lot, maybe once or twice a month, and I had no money to my name, and but you know, I would take a bus there, and I would have like $30, $40 for 2 days was all I had. So, but back then you could actually eat in New York pretty cheap. Like you get like a bagel and a coffee, really good cream cheese bagel. They had like the best bagels, onion bagel, and plus a little coffee in the morning. You get that for like $2, $1 for the bagel, $1 for the coffee. You get that at a diner. These little diners they'd have right in Manhattan too, wasn't, you know? And you could get like you know, like a really good hot dog. They had this place, I forgot the name of it, but it was like on a street corner, a very busy intersection, and they just served massive amounts. They just did huge volumes. Like they had this 100 hot dogs going on every 10 minutes, just people coming up and getting 2 or 3. And those were only $1 each, and those were awesome Frankfurters. You know, they had like some sauerkraut on them and onions and mustard, and so I get like 2 of those, $2. You know, I get a bagel in the morning. I get something to eat, you know, probably something cheap for dinner, maybe a sandwich or something, and that was it, you know. And then I was just walking the streets, riding the trains. You know, I'd ride the subways to different parts. I go to Queens or Brooklyn. I explore different parts of the city. And one of the things I really liked about, I found pretty fascinating about New York was just the nightlife. This was back, you know, in 2000, and they had a pretty happening nightlife at that time. There were just all these different cultural movements. You had like as far as music, you had electronic, you had still had like alternative and rock, you had hip hop was really huge, you had like that subgenre and subculture, and there were different clubs, and there were bars, and there's stuff was going 24 hours of the city, kind of like Pattaya, and different parts of the city, like Greenwich Village. You just walk the streets there 2, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning. There were just people having a good time and fun, and not the same style as Pattaya, obviously, but it was similar in that the people were, and this is kind of the theme of this video, is that there was just a lot of openness to that society that time. I don't know what New York is like now, because I haven't been there in a long time. In 12 years, but it was a very free and open society, and people felt comfortable going out in the streets late at night, and they felt safe. They could drink and have a good time, and that was just very attractive to me. And this is what I did. Since I didn't have money, I could not afford a hotel. Sometimes I stayed at a youth hostel, but sometimes I just had nowhere to sleep that Saturday night. So I would didn't really sleep. I would just one thing you could do was you could get a subway ticket, and you could ride the train all night. Just sleep on the train. But that's not really comfortable. I only do that for like 2 hours when I was really tired, and then I just get back into the city. And the trains ran 24 hours, by the way, the subways. So 3 in the morning in the trains, there weren't many people on it, so you could sleep. You had the whole 3 or 4 seats to yourself. You could sleep. And I wasn't the only one doing that, by the way. That was, but that was one option. You could sleep get a couple hours of shut eye doing that. Another option, you can just sort of hang out on a park bench, maybe not off 30 minutes, but that's not very comfortable either. And one time I remember I was I was walking around all night, and I was tired, and I just went into this coffee shop. I actually bought a coffee. It was like 4:35 in the morning, but this place was just full of people. This was how vibrant the life was there. There were old people. What were all these people doing like 4:30 in the morning? There were young people, old people. I mean, every type of people in this place. And And here I am. I come in. I got my headphones on, so I just play my music. I sit in the chair. And I just like sleep for like 3 hours in the coffee shop there. And yeah, those were a lot of fun adventures. And I had, and it kind of set the tone for me. In my life, I just like to get out there and explore and see and do things. And now I got this YouTube channel. I can do that. But so what does this all have to do with Pattaya? Well, when I came to Pattaya, I was 24 years old. This was like in 2005. And one of the things that really appealed to me right away was just like, it reminded me sort of Greenwich Village back when I was in 2000 in New York. Just how free and open nobody was like judging anybody. Just everybody was, how I knew Pattaya was an awesome city and I was going to be spending a lot of time in Pattaya was I knew that within the first 3 hours, because right when I came into the city on the bot bus, I didn't know anything about the place. And right when I got my hotel, I booked in this hotel, and I walked in the 7-Eleven to get some stuff like a toothbrush, and there's just like this crazy scene. There's like this lady boy and like these guys and this guy with a tattoo on his faces, and everybody was just like friendly and joking around, like, wow, this place is something else. This has got to be one of the freest cities in the world. People are just free to express themselves and be and do whatever they want. I knew that, wow, this is going to be, I'm going to have to spend some time here and enjoy myself and check this place out. And I didn't really come here with the intention of partying, or eventually I would later start doing that. I would get involved in the lifestyle here, but I just came here I was actually working online, so I wanted to travel and work, and if I saw a cool place, I was going to maybe hang out in that city for a few weeks. I was basically just a nomad traveling around, and I was in Bangkok for 2 weeks. I didn't really Bangkok. I didn't dislike, but I didn't really like it either that much. So I came to Pattaya, and I knew right away I'm going to hang out here for a while and do my work, and this is a pretty cool city. And the first couple of weeks I was here in Pattaya, I didn't know anything about the city. I didn't even know Walking Street. I didn't even know it existed. And I just had this little world. I was in just like Second Road, Pattaya Klang, and like Soi 7. That's where my hotel was. That's all I knew about Pattaya. And I would walk to like the internet cafe every day, do my work, and I just basically spent all day on the internet, because I was working, and then I would just go back to my room. And but man, I learned about Pattaya really quick. I had a story about it. Her name was Juan, and she kind of showed me everything. I met her on the street walking back home. I stayed with her for like 2-3 months, and she showed me the ropes of Pattaya, and showed me everything. But but yeah, the message of this video is just aside from telling you some of my life stories, is that there are a lot of different ways to live life. There are people who live out in the country and they like to fish, or they like to hunt, or they like to, they live a rural lifestyle, and that's what, maybe they work as a lumberjack or something, and they love their life, and that's what they like, and there are people who live in a place like Pattaya or like Greenwich Village back in 2000, which had a crazy scene, and they like, going out and partying and talking to all sorts of people and mingling and dancing and hooking up and whatever. But that and in New York, people, the apartments are so expensive. People pay a lot of money to be able to live that lifestyle, because it's a unique lifestyle that existed only in a couple other cities in all of America. So my point is that people should have the ability to live whatever lifestyle they want. I mean, as long as they're not coercing anybody or hurting anybody. If there's a lot of ways to live life and be happy in life. There's a lot of people who find happiness through different lifestyles. So, there's no reason to denigrate people of a certain lifestyle, or people who, denigrate a whole city. Like, people denigrate Pattaya all the time. And I'm sure people used to do that of, American cities that had an element of it like that. But, there's no reason to denigrate a whole people of who like and enjoy a certain lifestyle, and like Pattaya is really just, an amazing place of freedom. That all this stuff just goes on, and all these beer bars and open air, and the city's not ashamed of anything. Everything's out in the streets, and it's become a big tourist. People come to the city as tourists. They haven't even no inclination to participate in the the beer bar scene and stuff, or even the nightlife. They just like to walk the streets and see, wow, this place is crazy. It's amazing. It's like a tourist site. And but I see a lot of people denigrating Pattaya. There's no reason to do that. Everybody, just because you might not like Pattaya, or the lifestyle here is not to your liking. There's no reason to denigrate people who do enjoy that lifestyle. And I'm sure I got some viewers who live like in the deep woods of like Alaska, or in the mountains of Colorado, and their lifestyle is totally different. They live in like a cabin, and they just like checking out my channel just to see a whole different side of life, a whole different side of the world. And I'm happy to bring that to people. But yeah, there's nobody's like those bureaucrats who lived in Washington D.C. who got up every day. They get their coffee, they got in their big SUV, and they have $100,000 job. They drive to the office, they drive back to their suburbs. A lot of people would say that's the American dream, and they're living a great life. And I'm sure they were pretty happy, but everybody's got different strokes. I was happier taking a bus and living on the streets in New York for a couple of days, and to me that was adventure and fun. And I've always craved adventure, and that's me. Other people have totally different things, but don't like put people down just because they have a different lifestyle, or they have a different way of viewing the world, a different way of being happy, enjoying the world. And we all have different, we're all, the extent of human individuality is extremely different, from one person to the next. And that's one of the cool things about YouTube, is people can show, well, this is how my life is, this is how, my perspective, this is how I see the world, and this is how I participate in the world. And, everybody has a different take and a different perspective. And, like I said, I'm sure 90% of my viewers probably will never come to Pattaya or have even no attention to Pattaya. They just like seeing this, not just how I'm living my life, but how the people, this, crazy fun city, how people are living in this city, how the world, how the city, how this place is, how it's a completely different to the way most of the world works, And I think that's one of the really cool things about YouTube. So yeah, just kind of a little story time, and I hope you guys found it interesting, and I hope I can get better. I'm really not a great speaker, so as far as a great storyteller, but I've made a few videos like this in the past, and some people seem to enjoy them. So I'm gonna maybe keep making a few more here and there, and try to get better as I go along. And I'm not even making this video with a script or anything. I'm just kind of speaking off the cuff, and trying to share some entertainment and information. Thanks for listening.